I've never seen anything like this in the 10 years I've been in the industry.
Just make my life so much easier.
It's a big issue.
In the studio, we have a range of exciting guests from Trackunit, the industry, and partners of Trackunit, and I'm super excited to dive in. Warm welcome to the show here today, where we are exploring how AI is shaping construction. My name is Lærke Ullerup. I am Trackunit's Chief Product and Marketing Officer, and I will be hosting a series of discussions with Trackunit leaders, with industries, experts, and guests of the house. And today we are exploring AI in the context of investment. And with us to unpack this topic, we've invited Nick Jordan from HG. Nick, you're a partner in HG and also sit on the board of directors with Trackunit and have been following us for the many last years here. And I'm very excited to have you in the studio today. Warm welcome.
It's great to be here, Leka.
Thank you. So let's try and unfold. How do you see AI and the bigger trends around AI for the investment landscape?
Yeah, it's an enormous question. If I think back about my own investing career, I've been doing this for 23 years now, and this feels like one of those seismic shifts. It feels as important as mobile or the evolution of SaaS. So it's clearly a massive topic. It takes a significant amount of attention for all of us who are involved in my industry, but it still feels very early.
And in what ways is it changing, and how do you also see that it's very early?
I think we see a huge amount of investment going in at the moment into the picks and shovels of AI. So Nvidia, people buying chips, people developing models, and then some of the layers that sit above that, which is very reminiscent of the early evolution of mobile or the early evolution of client server investing. So it's clear we have a very, very long way to go. But it's probably the single most important topic we have on our agenda at the moment.
And what makes it so important for you?
I think it's because the sort of theoretical potential of the technology is so enormous, and it presents itself in two ways. So, firstly, from an opportunity for our companies, we've got companies that will be able to address markets they haven't historically been able to do, to build products that they wouldn't have historically been able to build, and then to also find significant efficiencies in their own business. On the other hand, we have a lot of companies in the market who will be, I think, long term, rightly concerned about what AI will do to make their own products and services more deflationary and to lower the barriers to entry. So I think on both sides, it needs a huge amount of attention. And in some ways, we're sort of crystal ball gazing as to what the next 5 or 10 years holds with some of the information today, but still a lot more to come.
And is there anything we can say about how AI impacts enterprise valuations?
Yeah, I think you can see some extreme examples of that. So you have companies who have raised vast amounts of capital at huge valuations. If you look at OpenAI or you look at Elon Musk's XAI, it's clear that those valuations are essentially pricing in the idea that these are going to be huge, huge companies. And on the other hand, you've had companies that the markets have said are going to be significantly challenged by this because they provide either sort of low value data or they provide editorial services where the cost of doing it with AI is just going to be radically, radically lower.
So it sounds like you are taking this very serious and looking into to what your companies can do here. What is a thing that you do from HG to have your portfolio companies embrace AI?
Yeah, I think the first thing we do is we make sure it's on the agenda. So our role as investors is to think about what drives value in the 1, 3, 5, 10 year horizon, and a lot of it has been making sure that AI as a topic is on the agenda. I think the second thing that we've been very focused on is making sure that companies have the resources and capabilities in the businesses to deal with AI. I think if you talk to most of our portfolio companies today, they'd say the challenge is not sort of an understanding or an appetite to do things with AI or to invest into experiment. It's actually just how do we get the resources around it to stay up to date with what is such a fast moving technology. And I think the third thing is to be bold around investing in products and services which may not have perfect use cases today, or may not be the even a sort of minimum viable product really, but you want to build the capability and understanding how to build those products because you have conviction that in the medium term customers will need them.
And what drives this conviction? Like, how do you get started with these new products and services?
Yeah, I think there's probably two sort of big areas for us from our company's perspective at least. And I'll take the kind of the easiest one first, which is AI is clearly going to open up significant efficiency savings within a lot of companies today. Whether that's around R&D, whether it's around customer service. There's a significant portion of our companies now which are using co-pilots and R&D tools, widely within their businesses. It's a little bit less mature around sort of customer support and service, but again, we can see the direction of travel. We'll have 60-70% of our companies using those tools pretty extensively in the next 12 months. And then in parallel, where we have products that we can build that are effectively, like co-pilots or similar products, we're doing that pretty aggressively. Um, but to be honest, in some of our companies, it's still early days, and we're trying to sort of take on big topics and big products, and saying how would we build these bottom up or from with AI, or how would we attack a new market with an AI sort of focused product.
And how do you stay kind of updated on everything that is going on? How is this AI landscape developing?
Oh, it's incredibly hard. It's the short answer. So we're lucky that we have at HG we have a team of people whose only job is to stay on top of this, and then their role is to make sure that our portfolio have access to everything that we do centrally, and we share best practice and knowledge across our portfolio. And in fact, actually, Trackunit has been a significant early leader within our portfolio in this area, so we've been a big beneficiary of what you guys have been doing. Um, I think it is about also having resources in our companies which are dedicated to that question as well. Because I think if we even look back 6 months and you were saying to our companies, what are the right models to be using, what are the right tools to be using, it would have changed significantly over that period.
And with everything that is going on and how things are shifting, are there any specific industries that are more ripe for AI or for this type of innovation? How would you kind of try to assess the readiness?
I think any industries that are handling large quantities of data is a natural place to start, and where the value of that data has always been high, but sort of manipulating it and getting value from it has been tricky. That feels like where you have the significant opportunity to reveal the value of things that are already there rather than having to kind of create from scratch. So you naturally start with anything that has a financial services or a healthcare or even construction because of the amount of equipment and machinery involved. It's starting with those industries, but I think at a more practical level, the single biggest issue is, do you have clean, well structured data to start with? And that becomes very company specific, because without that, you really don't even get going.
And why is that such an important thing?
I think it's important for many reasons. Firstly, at its heart, what you're trying to do is solve the problem of the quantity of data, and obviously the garbage in, garbage out rule will apply. Secondly, I think you need really strong security and governance history around the data as well, because then you have to have resolved all of the issues that would have come up in terms of ownership of the data and how it's being used. So very practically, unless you've been doing that for years, and it's going to be harder to start from scratch. And there are a few companies that have been doing that, is the short answer. So I think if we look at where the investment is going within our portfolio, a significant portion of it is going into that kind of cleaning and tidying, governance and security issue.
Also sounds like these are, almost prerequisites to kind of see a successful journey ahead with AI for the companies you go out and assess.
Yeah.
Is that, are there other criteria that you would typically look for if you are to kind of see how companies are, fit for the future?
I mean, I think you need an innovation culture, and it needs to come right from the very top of the business, because almost by definition, you're trying to solve problems or make investment decisions that don't have a use case or a measurable ROI today.
Mm.
So you need that horizon 2, horizon 3 thinking in the company, and that's not as easily said as done. And we spend a lot of time with our companies trying to work on what are those sort of big challenges we could go and try and solve, even if we don't quite know how we would do it today.
Yeah.
That's certainly the thing. And then you have to have the capacity to invest as well,
Yeah.
because it's not going to generate a return in the short term.
And what are the other signs from your point of view that a company has an innovation culture and can kind of step into the world of AI?
I mean, we're relatively simple people, and the easiest way to see it is the history there. So we'll look at the companies, we'll look at the leadership teams, we'll look at their track record of new product development, we'll look at their track record of having entered new markets and how they've done that. And the more data points we have of that, the more likely it is that we'll be able to make this sort of big step together as well.
What's your own personal interest in this field of AI?
I think it's absolutely fascinating, and a lot of my personal interest is just driven by seeing how quickly my own children have started using AI tools, and the kind of the mental flexibility that they're approaching this with is just completely different to the way that we think about tasks, workflow, learning. Like, it stretches across everything. And I think when we look back it's really hard to predict now what the world will look like in 10 years, but I think it'll be radically different than it does today. And a lot of the products and services that we consume today, and a lot of the products and services our companies build and deliver to customers, will look significantly different. And that's why I say it's as exciting as going back and thinking about what mobile's done or what has SaaS done for software. It's genuinely that transformational.
So how do you think for yourself that this will change your job?
That's a great question. I think we're better at figuring out how it will change other people's jobs than it is our own job. Look, I think the barrier that it will significantly, and already is significantly, reducing the barriers to access to information research. I think the fact that we deal with large amounts of financial data will be significantly simplified, and the sort of the research component of our job will be significantly simplified as well. I think there's a incredibly interesting question as to whether the investment judgment that we exercise on behalf of our clients to decide where to allocate capital can also be done equally as well by AI, or whether it still needs that sort of human touch on top.
Hopefully we're not irrelevant, all of us, before the end of the decade.
I hope so too.
So, but thank you so much for elaborating on how you see that AI is relevant in the context of investment. Appreciate you taking time to meet with us and discuss this here. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and also exploring the investment landscape around AI. Thank you.